Hello everyone and welcome back to Low Rent Rick Scale Modelling, and something a little bit different today. I'm going to, for the first time, try a mounted Spitfire. So I'm going to use this Revell Spitfire Mk.IIa 172 scale, and I'm going to mount it in a 3D frame. So before we get going, please do consider subscribing to my channel. It really helps me out, allows me to make more videos. Please do leave some likes and comments on the video as well. Tell me what you think of it and if I should make more. I know a few people don't like this style of this modelling, but I really enjoyed making it. I think it looks great. So let's get on with the build. The instructions that come with the kit are going to form an integral part. They're going to be the backing of the picture. So I'm going to paste them on, and then I'm going to weather them back and fade them out a little bit to provide a really good back wallpaper. The instructions are quite glossy, so they should weather back quite well when they're wet and give them that warm faded look that I'm looking for as the sort of background. And I think the model set against the instructions will really tie it all in together. First job is going to be to tidy up the sprues just in case there's any flash or any parts that aren't connected. Sometimes they work themselves loose, and I'm going to look for any little knobs or bumps or bits that are a bit uneven and won't look nice and neat when it's done. So I'll tidy up the sprues first. So moving on to starting to paint the model, I'm going to paint all the black parts in first, and then I'm going to use the black to do some extremely heavy pre-shading on the fuselage and wings. And this is because I'm going to paint the background of the model in a dark Tamiya grey. So the grey that I'm going to use is the XF77. So I want just a hint of panel lining and a bit of pre-shading behind it. So I'm going to go quite heavy on with the black before I put the main colour over the top. Now, admittedly, the pre-shading is massively overdone, but there is a good reason for it. The XF77 really does cover up quite well, and this is going to be mounted in a frame, so it's going to pick up the light, and to be able to get that little bit of pre-shading to come through the grey, I needed to go quite heavy with it. So that's why I've gone a little bit crazy with the pre-shading. Now I'm going to start with the base coat of the grey. It'll go across most of the model, and then what I'll do with the camouflage pattern is I'll hand paint that on. For the camouflage pattern, I've chosen a Vallejo Model Air dark green. It's quite confusing actually when you have the parts still on the sprue to get the patterns to line up. You've got to really start spinning it around and keeping your eye orientated on the plan to make sure that in your mind where the camouflage pattern joins and merges from one panel to the next, that you've got some sort of flow to make it look like it does match up, and equally between the two halves. So it looks like it's two halves of the same plane. Just on the underside of the wings, I'm going to accent the panel line slightly with a 4B pencil. So I'm just going to lightly go over the pattern over each line, very lightly, just laying down a little bit of graphite, and then I'm going to smudge it out with a Q-tip, so that when I go over it with the varnish, it looks like those lines are a little bit sharper than what I've got now. The camera really doesn't pick out the pre-shading at this point, but when it goes into the natural light, you can really see it coming through. As this is a Revell kit, I'm going to make sure the sprues are coloured in nicely, so I'm going to do them in a nice blue. If I was doing an Airfix kit, I'd do the sprue in a red, just to make it pop away from the background and sort of tie it in with the logo, which I'm going to include in the frame too. Here I'm going to cut out the box elements that I'm going to use in the picture, so I'm going to cut out the box title and the Revell logo. to go next to the sprues in the frame. Applying the decals should be quite straightforward. Never tried to apply decals on a model that's not built before. It does make it slightly easier, but if any of you have ever built this kit, you might notice that the roundels come without the red centers. You have to put those on the top, and I personally have never seen that before. Please let me know in the comments of any other kits that do that. I just find it really odd that the roundels wouldn't have the center red dot. If there's a reason for it, please let me know, because I can't think of one. Now moving on to the backboard, and as I said, I'm going to cut out the instructions. I'm going to use Mod Podge and water to create sort of paper mache effect, and stick these to the backboard and then trim them down later. I'm going to also really scrub the surface of the glossy paper to make it look kind of weathered and worn and used. I've no idea at this point when I'm building this how the water, Mod Podge and paper are going to react together with the dry baseboard, so I'm going to stick a piece on first and pull it off and have a bit of a play with it and see how it goes, and then once I've got the orientation correct and how I want it, I'm going to give that a good weather and then go over the edges with a nice neutral colour from the airbrush. Some final touch-ups, so some silver enamel for the wheel hubs. I'm going to go around and do a little bit of touch-up and some detailing, just to make the thing pop out a little bit, and add some little details here and there that will catch the eye, and hopefully each time they look they'll see another little tiny bit of detail as they look at the picture. Now the backboard is dried out and the first coat is done. It's time to work out where the sprues are actually going to go, get them orientated and get them marked so I know that I've got a nice even colour and a nice even spread of the parts, and it doesn't look out of balance or too much on one side. And once I've done that, I'm going to weather that background and make it look quite muted, so that what we're looking at is the model will pop and stand out, and the background will still be there but as an accent to the model. I've chosen a very light green to weather out the background a little bit, so I'm going to go quite heavy around the edges and fading up as it goes into the center, but give the whole thing a sort of sheen, so that the wallpaper becomes just that, becomes a wallpaper and doesn't detract from the actual aeroplane on the sprues itself. And I think this gives a really nice effect for the background rather than it just being a plain colour. It just adds a little bit of detail to it and makes it look quite special. Now I know exactly where I want the pieces and the backings dried off. I'm going to use an extremely strong super glue, a cyanoacrylate called Power Bond, to make sure that these things are held down fast, and also to take any sort of bend out of the sprues so that I can level them off and stick them down firmly, knowing full well that they're not going to break free. Now finally all that's left to do is to mount the thing in the actual frame. This is the part where it all comes together. I'm really looking forward to seeing this behind some glass. I've really enjoyed building it, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Let's see what the final thing looks like now it all comes together. And there we have it, my first frame mounted model, the Revell Spitfire Mk.IIa 172 scale in a 30cm by 30cm frame. I think it looks fantastic. Thank you very much for joining me and watching all the way through. If you're still here, please consider subscribing to my very small channel and really helping me out. And please leave any comments or likes on the video. Thank you so much. Please join me again for my next video. Until then, goodbye.